hello everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of This Could Be Awkward. Today it's brought to you by the letter C, and that C is for cancer. And I'm joined by a couple of very special guests today, Jamie and Gordon. You guys want to say hello?
Hello.
Hi there.
So we'll be using the standard This Could Be Awkward format, and we'll get stuck in with the first question. And it come to you first, Jamie. If you'd like to share your experience of cancer, please.
So my personal experience of cancer is through the loss of several family members. In the space of 10 years, I lost my mum, my granddad, and my grandma. Even 24 years on, it will be this Christmas since my mum died. It's still difficult imagining that she's not here. She's not been around for half of my life. It's really difficult to explain as to how everything happened, because it seems to have been all of a blur. It was literally 18 months, 2 years from the point of diagnosis to her actually passing away, and so much seemed to have happened during that time. It was scary. She was in and out of hospitals, at home, going in and out for treatment and everything. And during that time, I was at university and my sister was at college. So it was, for the both of us to be helping my dad at home when mum was home, it was a lot for us to take on. And it was one of those things that made me feel as if I should stop going to university. But my mum, being mum, was very much laying the law of the ground and saying, you've worked this hard, you've got to where you are, crack on, do what you need to do. Don't worry about me. That was her main thing. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I've had X, Y, and Z treatment. They've said it's looking good. And she did go into remission at one point. And then the nasty little bugger came back even worse than before, and it was kind of hit us all sideways, and she deteriorated quite quickly. And then we lost her the week before Christmas in 1996. Eerily enough, 25 years to the day of her and my dad having their first date. So it seemed almost like, everything had come round full circle. It was very difficult afterwards, particularly for my grandparents, because my mum was their youngest child. And then 4 years later, my granddad himself then got ill with cancer. Again, deteriorated really, really quickly. And to see this big mass of a man who used to scoop you up into the biggest cuddles and brush your knee with a Brillo pad when you fell over, and things like that, all the silly things you remember from when you were kids, because they looked after us so much. To see him in a bed, not being able to lift his head up or lift his hand up to take a drink, it was devastating. So we lost him in 2000, and then in 2005, my dad's mum had esophageal cancer, and again, really quickly, from the point of diagnosis to her passing away, I think it was about 4 or 5 months. And again, they tried treatments and everything, and she just didn't seem to respond to any of it. She felt as if her time has come. She was quite happy, in terms of what she'd achieved, what she'd done, and she'd been on her own for quite some time. As my other granddad, he died from cancer when I was younger. I was 12, I think, when Granddad Jack passed away. So yeah, a parent and 3 grandparents have been lost from our family because of this devastating disease, and it's still difficult to imagine now at the age of 44, which is the same age as my mum died, that she's not been here for some of the biggest achievements of my life. So I know my story is a lot different to yours, Gordon. And how's cancer affected you?
Well, thank you. Start of this year, I had a few stomach pains. So I was sent for a gastroscope, and I thought, oh, I felt a bit guilty going because I'm wasting the time. It's all it is indigestion. And then unexpectedly, I was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. So it was quite well advanced. So they decided they had to do something very quick. So in March, my journey started, and I had 2 months aggressive chemotherapy, which was horrific. My hair fell out. I was really sick. And then as soon as I recovered from the chemotherapy, I was taken in July to hospital, and I had surgery to remove my stomach, my entire stomach, a total gastrectomy.
Wow.
To get rid of the whole stomach. So I'm currently recovering from that operation. Surgeon says it went well. So I've got to see the oncologist this week and see what he says, see what the next step is in my cancer journey. So yeah, it's all been a bit of a crap year, really. I can say that on here. 2020. Suddenly finding out you've got cancer.
Yeah, I think you've got every right to say the crap word along with another C word, Gordon.
The C word.
2020 has been a shocker for everybody, but for yourself going through all of that chemo and surgery in this period, you know, you're a fighter, and we're all rooting for you, as we've said before. So amazing. Yeah, and Jamie, yourself with your story of your family history, so sorry for your losses, and you know the strength that you bring to your work and support and everything. You know, it's super amazing, because it's a lot of these things have a huge impact on our work life as well as our home lives. So we'll come to yourself first, Gordon, then. How has this affected your work life?
Work life. Wow. So sideswipe that. That's all it was. Thankfully, working for BT, you know, you start to worry about work. Strangely enough, when you get told you've got cancer, you start thinking, how am I going to go to work? How am I going to go to all these appointments? How am I going to go through chemotherapy? How am I going to be able to work? But thankfully, BT have got all these procedures in place, the line managers, they've got the employee assistance program, and all my work colleagues. So I got time off to go for the appointments. When I was having chemotherapy, it was, yes, make sure you're well enough to work, and I worked when I could work. And obviously there's a few days when I couldn't work, I was just so ill. And then surgery wise, obviously I've been in hospital for a week or so, and then recovering now. But the whole processes and procedures that BT have got in place take away this worry about what am I going to do about work. I have to say a huge thank you to the Wellbeing Guild. I couldn't have got through this without the Wellbeing Guild. They've been amazing. The messages of goodwill and support, the little gifts to cheer me up, they just knew when I needed them, and they just suddenly appeared. And it's thanks again to all my colleagues as well, who was wishing me well and cheering me on through this journey and making sure I get a successful outcome, hopefully, at the end of it all. But yeah, it's a great place to work because all these procedures and policies are in place.
Yeah, and I think
that, Jamie, how's it affected your work life?
Well, as I said before, when my mum was ill, I was at university, and at the key point of where she was at her worst, I was actually on placement. I was working for the Employment Service in Sheffield, and again, they were a brilliant team to work for. They were extremely supportive from the get-go, and even my university lecturers, obviously I had to let them know what was happening with my mum being poorly, and they were extremely understanding. The support was there from the university as well with student services, and it was basically a reminder to let me know that I wasn't going through it on my own. I had people there to support me, and it wasn't just from my family and friends, but from my colleagues as well. And another colleague that I got to work with while I was at the Employment Service had gone through a similar thing with her own dad as well. He'd been suffering through stomach cancer like yourself, Gordon, and he'd had tumours removed and everything. And she said it had been a horrendous time, and just talking to her helped me understand what I had available to me at my fingertips. And you know, it wasn't a case of that I could, you know, just sit back and have to deal with it by myself, that I knew that there was other people there to help me.
Yeah, I think the support that when you start opening up a little bit more about these conversations, a lot of people will be affected through their own personal diagnosis, like yourself, Gordon, or through family and friends experiences. It's maybe that initial moment of talking about it and opening up. So why do you think it could be so difficult to actually talk about cancer in the first instance, Jamie?
This is a strange thing, because it was kind of, when you say why is it so difficult to talk about it, when my dad's dad was ill, we didn't know it was cancer. I wasn't told it was cancer until I was older. So like I said, I was about 12, 13 when he died. I was told when I was like probably around the time that we found out that my mum was ill, that it had been cancer for granddad. And it was this whole stigmatism around it, that the younger ones, it really shouldn't be discussed around the younger ones, because you didn't want to upset them. You just wanted to tell them, well, you know that he had this nasty cough, and well, the doctors had tried to make it better and everything. It's like nowadays, because there are more and more children that are suffering from childhood cancer and leukemia and things like that, you shouldn't really hide them from it. You've got to be more expressive and more understanding about the fact that kids nowadays, particularly because of social media and what they see on the television and everything, they understand more about these things than we actually give them credit for. Again, it was kind of when it all came about, my mum being ill, it was my dad's automatic thing was, because at the time I was 18, my sister was 16, was how do I protect the girls? And straight away, our automatic thing was, we don't need protecting. We're old enough now to understand. Tell us what's happening, what is going to happen to mum. And we sat down with her consultant when she got back from having a procedure done, and with my mum it was skin cancer. She wasn't a sun worshipper, she slathered herself in Factor 50, she had very fair skin and everything. She wasn't one of these people that would sit out in the sun, but she had a small mole on the inside of her ankle that basically, that's where it started. And for, even at that time, in the mid-90s, there was still all this, there wasn't really much going on about, skin cancer is becoming more prevalent. It's basically going up on the chart of of cancers that can kill people and things like that. It wasn't one of those things. Make sure you went on a beach somewhere and there'd be somebody literally coating themselves in Mazola cooking oil to see how dark a tan they could actually get. They weren't bothered about the whole SPF factor at that point. But as we've gone on through the past 25 years, yes, it has become more prevalent. You get the whole slip, slap, slop campaigns for the kids with the hats, and they do it in the schools as well and everything. But then you look into the entertainment world. Chadwick Boseman is a perfect example. He went through a battle for 4 years without telling the Marvel company. Obviously, he'd just been given that part in Black Panther. He'd not told a number of his closest colleagues or anything like that. He went through that battle because his mother had brought him up under the pretense of our problems and nobody else's problems, and he felt he could only handle it on his own with his nearest and dearest, which is fine. I completely understand that. But when you're in the public eye, a lot of people won't see it in that way. So why they still feel now that there's that unnecessary need to not talk about it, I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed.
There is a stigma. We even refer to it as the C word.
Yes.
How long did it take me in my diagnosis before somebody actually turned around and said, you've got cancer? I had tumours, I had adenocarcinoma, and then I said, I had to sit down, yes, you've got stomach cancer. That's it. But then you have to explain to people.
Yeah.
Again, if we don't explain to people, this is our experiences, this is what's happened to us, people won't talk about it. And you have to talk about it. I am so glad I made the decision to tell people, this is what I'm going through. If not, they would have said, why is Gordon losing weight? Why is his hair falling out? Why is he off sick? No, I explained to people, I have cancer. I'm getting treated for cancer. I have to do something about it.
When I saw that,
you shouldn't hide it.
You shouldn't. And when I saw that post from you on Facebook, I could not be more proud of you for stepping forward and saying what you did. you shouldn't have to hide behind something like that. And you should be able to come forward because you know that the people that love you the most are going to support you.
Again, people say, oh, you're so brave. I'm not being brave. I'm just showing my vulnerability because I need people to help me through the journey. And because I was open and discussed it, people are helping me through this journey and making sure I get there to the other end. And it's all the support because people are now coming up to me and saying, how do you eat if you've got no stomach? Carefully. But, people are more willing to say, yeah, people think we got cancer, you're going to die. I'm still here, not dead yet. No, talk to me about it.
Yeah, the proof of the pudding in terms of how you've dealt with this really comes from the fact that you nicknamed your tumour Ripley.
Yeah, I had to have a focus, and it was called Ripley.
Yeah, that speaks volumes to the fact that you took your wonderful Scottish sense of humour and basically grabbed it by the ears and said, right, this is how I'm treating it, and this is how I'm gonna be moving forward. And it's just the fact that you've been open enough to actually share this journey with us is I know you hate the word, mate, but it's inspiring. It really is, because for somebody that who is going through such a tough time as yourself, to be able to do that is just amazing. It really is, and we couldn't love you more for it.
Yeah, I've been quite surprised that because I'm talking about it, people talking back to me, and I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't mentioned it. If I hadn't said, oh, by the way, I've got stomach cancer. Oh, if you suddenly disappear, I'm off ill. Gordon's ill. That's what it would have been. Oh, Gordon, he's not real. No, you've got to talk about it. You've got to discuss it. And then yes, it's not very nice at times, but we get there.
Yeah. But it wraps back into just what you were saying at the beginning, Jamie, about talking to people around the time of your mom, and your work colleagues saying about their similar experiences, and what you're going through at the moment, Gordon, is completely, it's unique, isn't it? It's unique to you, and it's unique to a lot.
It's my journey. Yeah, it's my journey that I'm dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but to have the strength of character to share it and to openly talk about it. I remember that first little, you arranged there was like a solution design catch-up meeting, pretense of a different conversation topic, but to actually sit down with myself and a couple of colleagues and say, this is what is happening. Hats off to you, because you started this. You made that decision to share. And I'm so glad that you've got the support coming back to you now when people are talking to you about it.
I'm so glad I shared it and talked about it, because I now have this amazing support from BT, my colleagues, my friends helping me. Fantastic. Just because I talked about it. So don't be embarrassed talking about cancer.
No. You shouldn't be at all. And if you ever feel as if that there's a problem, and one of the things that both my sister and I do quite a lot, and I think it's something that's come about more often now because of the whole skin cancer issue, is go and get yourself checked out. If you feel that there's a mole that's different or something, you feel a lump, just basically different changes in your body, for God's sake, go to the doctors, get yourself checked. You don't know what it could be, and if you leave it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. Completely agree, 100%. It's something as simple as, you're passing blood. My father-in-law had an instance where he was passing blood for a couple of days. He went to see the doctor, and because he was over 70, they said, oh, it looks like you've got a bout of cystitis, which is highly unusual for a gentleman and of your age. So the GP sent him for a scan, and that's how they found his kidney cancer. It could be just something as simple as that. If you're not sure, as Jamie said, go speak to the medical professional, go and get something checked. There's all sorts of websites and research, and we'll pop some things in the chat against this post about, things like Copperfield, making sure that you're checking various parts of your own body, to check for signs and all various other things. And like with yourself, Gordon.
Yeah, and don't forget the NHS is open. All my treatment, everything's happened during lockdown. So I've had chemotherapy, I've had surgery, I've had consultations, all during lockdown. It's all continued as normal for me.
It's also important to remember as well that the services that are available for those people that are actually diagnosed with cancer, the likes of Macmillan Cancer Support, they were fantastic for us. We were, from the start, they were, yes, yes.
The giant booklet all about stomach cancer from Macmillan.
And they were fantastic for us, basically explaining the counselling support that was available, the financial support as well, helping us figure out, caring needs and everything for when my mum was at home. They are brilliant. They are, they've got a fantastic website. They've got a lot of people to hand to help. Hospitals, as you know, Gordon, they have their own cluster groups as well that basically patients are directed to, and so they've got a wealth of information there, and they're definitely worth looking at the website. If you've got any concerns at all, any questions, go and have a look at the Macmillan Cancer Support website.
Fantastic. A very appropriate ending to a very good chat. Thank you both so much for joining this episode of This Could Be Awkward. And Gordon, we all wish you well on your further steps in your journey.
Yes,
and Jamie, we're very much looking forward to what else is going on during this week of Macmillan Support.
We have a lot of things happening for Macmillan Support Week. We've got Danny Howes with his special quiz on Friday, and we've also got a prize draw coming up as well. So lots of lovely prizes to give away.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.